This Boston Red Sox team is different. And let me tell you why really quickly. Hello everyone, I'm Evan Sharrard, and welcome back to Red Sox Digest. This Red Sox team really is different from the teams that we've seen in the past, and let's take a look at why. So, I was doing some digging because the Red Sox have finished with a similar record as they have for the past 3 seasons at the trade deadline, and this year they bought. And for Red Sox fans that aren't sure why now and not last year or the year before, or maybe even the past few years before that, why they weren't really believing in this team, I'm about to tell you why. And we're going to start by looking at the team stats from 2018, and then we're going to go on from there, talking about the major difference that this team has made from the past 2 seasons specifically, and then we'll talk about what it means for this team. So without further ado, I know I say that a lot, but I do mean it. Let's take a look at the 2018 Red Sox onto the 2024 Red Sox. And what you're seeing here are the baseball reference batting ranks, meaning that 30 is the lowest and 1 is the highest, because 1 through 30 is all of the teams in Major League Baseball. And we're going to get a look at their records, where they finished in the AL East. That's important because you don't want to think, oh, the Red Sox have been top 5 in baseball for the past, since 2018, the past 6 seasons. Really bad math there. Six. Technically 7, but 6 years total. So what is going on here? We see that the Boston Red Sox offense has been pretty much spectacular throughout these past 7 seasons, always within the top 10 in home runs, always number 1 in doubles, 4 times number 1 in hits, and always in the top 10 in runs scored. So this offense has really been elite. So really, there's not really been a big change here in the offense. So why don't we take a look at the team pitching? So now we're seeing a lot more fluctuation. So in terms of earned runs, that's ER. So come on over past runs with the R and just in between home runs. And we'll see that the Red Sox were 3rd in pitching in terms of earned runs in 2018, the year they won the World Series. 8th the next season. Middle of the league exactly in 2020. 2021, they were 7th. Then they took a step back in 2022 to 14th and then 11th last year. But that's not including the fact that this team dealt with a bunch of injuries, and you also have to include some of those fielding percentages as well. Your earned runs don't count as earned runs when you're giving up a lot of errors, and we see the fielding percentage is pretty low for 2020, 2021, 2023, and 2024. 2022, they were a good defense. 2018, 2nd best in the league, 4th best in the league in 2019. So then you see the earned runs. Okay, not terrible, but what about the runs? And the Red Sox have been below 10th, near that average range, since 2022. And this year they are drooping in there as well. But there was a key difference, because from these stats, I still can't really tell the biggest difference. Obviously, we can see the ERA is 6th in all of baseball this year, and that means that the pitching's gotten better. So I decided to look even further into that. So this is the team's pitching this season, and when we look at the ERA plus, 100 is average, anything below it is below average, anything above it is above. They have 3 starters that are well over 100. Now, Cooper Criswell sitting at 113, so 13 points above, and he hasn't gotten consistent starting time. The Red Sox have dealt with some injuries as well there, and they just got James Paxton near the deadline. But Nick Pivetta, just under average. Brayan Bello, well below average. He's having a down year compared to last season. But Cutter Crawford and Tanner Houck are really standing out to me, because the season before, they were not quite as good. And we're taking a look now at the full stats for this team so far in terms of their most frequent players playing. So you've got the starters 1 through 5 that we already touched on, and then the bullpen. everybody in the bullpen is above 100. Their bullpen has been exceptional when healthy, of course. Justin Slayton sitting here. Greg Weissert's ERA plus is actually still sitting over average, but he's currently in AAA working on his slider. But Cam Boozer, an incredible story of a guy who was not even close to the major leagues a few years ago, who dreamed about being in the majors, is now in the majors. So enough with this footing around. Let's find out what's really going on with this team. So I usually like to go to Baseball Savant to find these things. And before I say anything about them, I just want you to take a look at these two differences. So this is the 2023 pitch chart. You may not understand what this means yet. And this is the 2024 pitch chart. Now I want to pull us over to the graphic screen and look at a quote from pitching coach Andrew Bailey. This was at the beginning of the season back in April. He was just brought in by the Red Sox before this season to really revamp this pitching staff. And what he has to say here, to me, really speaks volumes. And you can read that whole quote, but I'll paraphrase it by saying, we don't want to throw as many fastballs. We want to make the winning punches if this were a boxing match. So he's saying that the Red Sox should be throwing more off-speed, more breaking pitches, less fastballs. So let's see what they've actually done with that. So Tanner Houck, when you look at this pitch tracker, it's really kind of hard to discern anything here besides it's a big blob of color and a bunch of circles in a strike zone with two grayed out batters. So on the right side, we can see the pitch types. And this is 2024. And what I notice is he's thrown so many sweepers, which for those who don't know, a sweeper is a mix between a slider and a curveball. Sometimes it's just a slider. It all depends on the grip, but it is a pitch that instead of sliding down like that or up and down like that, it slides more like this. It has much more horizontal break, and it's been a pitch that's been not revolutionizing the game, but it's because it's existed for a long time, but it is being brought back to the mainstream in Major League Baseball as an effective strikeout pitch. And the Red Sox have been throwing it this year more than ever. So this is Tanner Houck from this year, and this is Tanner Houck from last year. Let's talk about what Andrew Bailey just said. Throw less fastballs. And so the Red Sox, specifically their ace, who was just an all-star and has a below 3 ERA, is no longer throwing four-seam fastballs. I mean, the difference here, four-seam fastball, splitter, cutter, sinker, slider. A pitch out is when you throw to try and pick off a runner. So it's not actually any sort of pitch type. He's gotten rid of his slider, and now he just throws the sweeper, the sinker, the splitter, and the cutter. And the amount that he's throwing that splitter is really incredible. Also, from going from your slider as your number one pitch to a sweeper, he's changed the grip on his slider and the way he's throwing it. The pitching staff's completely revamped what they've done, at least with Tanner Houck, but that's not the only person they've done it with. So those are the stats from last season, kind of irrelevant now that we're really into the meat of this. But this is Cutter Crawford's 2023. He's got a 3.6 ERA with the Red Sox right now. He's really improved based on these numbers from last season where he's at 4.04. So he's cut it down by 0.4, had a 1.13 ERA plus, and now he is sitting up at that mark where it's 1.22. So he's driven it up by 9, and this is really how. The amount of fastballs is dramatically different. He's also found the strike zone, but that's besides the point. He also is throwing that sweeper much more. The cutter is still the same rate. He's really just gotten rid of that knuckle curve, besides when he throws it on occasion, where the pitch is located on the screen from top most thrown, bottom least thrown. He is throwing the knuckle curve last, the splitter more, and the sweeper. The difference in the amount of fastballs this guy's throwing is really not a lot. And now let's take a look at an outlier, Brayan Bello, who has also cut out his four-seam fastball, which are the jabs that Andrew Bailey talked about in that quote of his. This is the difference that Andrew Bailey's making. This is not just the pitchers deciding, we're going to throw less fastballs. They, with Coach Andrew Bailey, have decided that's what we're doing. So these are his 2024 stats. He's throwing that sinker the most. He's always done that. He's also throwing the slider a lot more. Now, I don't know why Bello has been less successful, but I can guess that it's because his best pitch, talked about on broadcast since he's been in the major leagues, has been his changeup. And he's not throwing it as much as he's throwing that slider. He's also not finding the zone as much as he has with the changeup in the past. You do see that tighter zone, but there are a lot of pitches still outside of it. He's also cut away from using that cutter, and that could also bring less swing and miss. But that being said, Bello has struggled, but he's completely cut out the fastball. And so those are the big changes that the Red Sox have made in terms of pitching this season, and they've really resulted in some incredible numbers. And so let's just take a look at some of the differences that this has made when we see how good this Red Sox pitching staff has been. Just looking at these differences here, I mean, look at the pitch numbers. The Red Sox pitching this season, not only have they thrown far more off-speed pitches, but they have gone from being one of the teams in the highest or the lowest percentage of weak hit baseballs in the bottom 10 to one in the top 10 in weak percentage contact, which what that means is when they are pitching, the opposing team, what kind of contact? Are they making solid contact? Are they making okay contact? Are they making weak contact? And the Red Sox this season specifically have been making batters hit the ball more weakly than they have last year, the year before that, and it has resulted in this team pitching like one of the best teams in baseball. We've talked about the Red Sox pitching staff being one of the best in all of baseball for months, but that's really the big difference. The big difference is the Red Sox are now throwing more off-speed pitches, more breaking balls, and it's resulting in more weak contact. And you could ask, well, how do you know that? How do you know that that's what's doing it? Well, because those are the pitches they're throwing. And those are the results they're getting. So it's not like, oh, their fastballs are better. It is the mix that they're throwing them with. And Andrew Bailey talks a lot about throwing your best pitch, and that's what the Red Sox are doing, which is why I really do think that this team is different. And this really means that the Boston Red Sox are actually contenders. This team is real because this offense is just as good as they've always been. But now this pitching is great. They have an ace in Tanner Houck who is throwing the way that he is, and the Red Sox have figured out how to pitch in this decade of swing and a miss, walk, home run. In the 3-outcome hitting of baseball that really took off in the late 2010s, the Red Sox have figured it out with Andrew Bailey, and they have finally arose at the top in both the batting standings and the pitching ones. These teams that used to trounce the Red Sox because they couldn't pitch are now playing close games with the Red Sox that allow the Red Sox offense, which has always been great, to win games. And so really, the Red Sox are contenders now, and it's time to go. And they made small moves to improve their bullpen with those injuries that they had had to Chris Martin and to Justin Slayton, who have both been playing really well out of the bullpen. And now the Red Sox really are competing for not only the AL East crown, the AL crown, but the World Series. Because without the rest of Major League Baseball really recognizing it, the Red Sox are one of the best teams in baseball. And it's not really a shock that after the first few weeks and the clear difference in the way that this team's pitching, that they're for real. The record is similar, but the results are different. The Red Sox are not winning games just because they're outslugging people. They're winning games because they're outpitching them too. And that's really why this team is a contender not the pretenders that they have been the past few years, where their offense got so hot that you thought there's no stopping these guys. Yeah, there's no stopping them until they have to go out and pitch. But now they're pitching the lights out. And I think that the sky's the limit. So with that being said, thank you all for joining me. The difference with the Boston Red Sox has been the pitching and the way that they're doing it, specifically throwing less fastballs, more breaking, and more off-speed pitches. So thank you all for joining me. I'm Evan Sharrard, once again signing off for Digest Media. Thank you so much for watching. Go Red Sox, and look out.